From 15th century robots to mysterious rooms inside ancient pyramids, here are 12 unexpected archaeological discoveries. Grabel Man. The ancient body of a man buried in a peat bog in Jutland, Denmark was discovered by workers there in 1952. And even though the remains were dated back to the 3rd century BC, the body was incredibly well preserved. In fact, the man's hands and feet were in such remarkable condition that experts were able to successfully record his fingerprints. The body showed wounds that suggested the man was killed by having his throat cut and then thrown into the peat bog. Over the next 2 millennia, the organic matter served to naturally preserve and mummify the body. While other so-called bog bodies have also been found in the region, Grabel Man is considered to be one of Denmark's most remarkable prehistoric discoveries. In 1955, the body went on display in Moai Museum, where it remains to this day. The Atacama Giant. Measuring about 390 feet, 119 meters, this mysterious construct is said to be the world's largest human-like figure. Found in Chile's Atacama Desert, this geoglyph is thought to have been created at some point between 1000 to 1400 AD. It's actually one of 5,000 or more geoglyphs found in that region. Its exact purpose is still unclear. Some theories include that it might have been some type of early astronomical calendar that helped in determining crop cycles. But locals think it represents some sort of deity. What do you think? Leonardos Robot. The word robot comes from the Czech language and dates back to the 1920s, but the initial appearance of a humanoid robot dates back centuries before that, and it was the creation of Leonardo da Vinci. In fact, robot-like concepts have been found dating back to the 4th century BC in Greece. While there is no record of Da Vinci's robot actually being constructed, he did draw up one of the first recorded plans for a humanoid automation in the late 15th century. The design, along with notes in Da Vinci's sketchbook, were rediscovered in the 1950s. That work detailed an automation which resembled a medieval knight. It could stand, sit, raise its visor, wave its arms, and move its head and jaw. Did you know that the robot has been faithfully constructed from Da Vinci's sketchbooks? And is even proved to be completely functional? Caracol Supe. Head about 120 miles, 193 k's north of Lima, Peru, and you'll find the most ancient city in the Americas. Caracol is estimated to be founded around 2600 BC, and it was inhabited by more than 3,000 people over the course of 600 years, or until about 2000 BC when it was abandoned. Covering about 150 acres, or 61 hectares, Caracol is the Andean region's largest site that dates older than 2000 BC. Nearly 20 temple complexes sprawl over the 35 square miles of the Supe Valley, which at one point may have contained as many as 20,000 individuals. Archaeologists say this was a society based on leisure and commerce, with no evidence of warfare ever being found there. Because of that, it's unlikely the city was abandoned due to conflict. More likely, the inhabitants were forced to leave because of drought, as they sought more fertile lands. A massive mysterious moose. Did you know that in 2011, a moose was discovered in the southern Ural Mountains of Russia? While that might not be so unusual, this particular moose was actually a stone structure created by satellite imagery. Measuring some 275 meters, 902 feet, the moose-inspired geoglyph left archaeologists baffled. Analyzing of more than 40 small tools located near the formation suggests it was created sometime between 4000 BC and 2000 BC. That would make it one of the oldest examples of land art ever created, and it would predate the famous Nazca Lines of Peru by centuries. But the geoglyph's exact purpose still remains a mystery, as does the culture that created it. Cahokia. Did you know that in the state of Illinois you can find an ancient city that was once surrounded by pyramids? It's known as the Cahokia, and it was built about 1,000 years before Europeans made first contact. Now known as the Cahokia State Historic Site, it's a park that covers some 3.5 square miles or 9 square kilometers and contains 80 mounds. But the city was much larger, covering around 6 square miles or 16 square kilometers and containing up to 40,000 inhabitants at its peak between 600 and 1400 AD. The culture was known for their art, architecture, and advanced farming methods. By 1300, the area was abandoned and never repopulated by indigenous tribes. Scholars think that along with deforestation and flooding, disease may have played a part in their decline. The Scottish Pompeii Scarabray. Experts say that this Neolithic town was occupied from around 3180 BC to 2500 BC, but it wasn't discovered until 1850. That's when a destructive storm hit the largest island of Scotland's Orkney archipelago, uncovering a knoll and revealing a village. A cluster of 8 houses were located there and was occupied until 2500 BC. At that time, experts say the location was abruptly abandoned, and judging by the jewellery and other prized possessions left behind, the inhabitants seemed to have left in a hurry. What made them leave so suddenly? Experts say that extreme environmental conditions like a catastrophic storm could have forced them out. Whatever the reason, the town's sudden abandonment and excellent preservation have inspired its nickname, the Scottish Pompeii. New Nazca Lines 2018. According to experts, sometime between 500 BC and 500 AD, people from the Nazca culture in southern Peru created a series of large geoglyphs or ground drawings. Known as the Nazca Lines, the designs can range from complex geometric shapes to images depicting trees, flowers, birds, monkeys, and humans. The largest figures can measure up to 1,200 feet, or 366 meters long. Spanish explorers in the 16th century mistook the lines for trail markers. Early in 2018, scientists using drones have discovered more than 50 previously unknown examples of figures that were so faint they were almost invisible to the human eye. Researchers say that while some of these new lines were created by the Nazca culture, many others were created by cultures which predated them. That would include the Paracas, who showed up around 800 BC. If that's the case, then these newly discovered lines could predate the Nazca Lines by about 1,000 years. Durrington Walls, Superhenge. A henge or henge monument typically refers to a type of Neolithic earthwork which is usually circular and can have an internal ditch that surrounds an area of flat land. While Stonehenge is no doubt the most famous example, there's a site about 2 miles, 3 kilometers away from the legendary monument that is larger, and is sometimes called Superhenge. It's known as Durrington Walls and measured some 1,600 feet, 2,575 meters in diameter, and is thought to be around 4,500 years old. Archaeologists say that unlike many of these sites, Durrington Walls did not have any standing stones whatsoever. Rather, the inhabitants surrounded their site with timber posts, which were later removed. While the settlement likely contained as many as 1,000 houses and 4,000 individuals, their time of settlement there was brief, estimated at less than half a century. An unexpected space. A building that stands 481 feet or 774 meters high might not seem so tall these days, but for some 3,800 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza was the world's tallest man-made structure. It is also the largest and oldest of the 3 pyramids found in what is now El Giza in Egypt. Since first being excavated with modern scientific techniques in 1880, you would think that most of the pyramid's 3 chambers would have been pretty well explored and documented by now. But in 2017, scientists using high-tech equipment that can detect cosmic rays discovered evidence of a previously unknown cavity located in the Grand Gallery. That mysterious empty space is the first significant structure found inside the 4,500-year-old pyramid since the 19th century. So far, the space is inaccessible and its purpose is still unknown. What do you think it could be? The Moai heads. In Polynesia, you'll find an isolated volcanic island called Rapa Nui, but you likely know it better as Easter Island. Rapa Nui also refers to the indigenous people who built the mysterious Moai figures. Built between the 12th and 16th century, about 900 of the huge monolithic structures can be found on the island. With an average height of 13 feet, 21 meters, the structures can weigh about 14 tons and were carved from volcanic ash, then placed atop stone platforms where they are found at various locations around the region. But did you ever wonder if those enormous stone noggins had bodies connected to them? The short answer is yes. Archaeologists have discovered the heads are buried up to their necks, but below the surface, the bodies can be found placed in a squatting position. As for why the heads were constructed in the first place, well, that remains a mystery. And here's another one. How were those massive monoliths transported across the island? If you have a theory, let us know in the comments. Rosetta Stone. This is likely the most famous artifact on our list, and it's truly an unexpected discovery, although rediscovery might be a better term. The stone slab was carved in 196 BC, and in 1799 it was found by a French soldier during Napoleon's campaign in Egypt. In 1801, the stone landed in British hands when they defeated the French. It took a massive effort to decipher the massive stone, and it took at least 2 decades before it could be successfully transliterated. Experts found that 3 separate scripts were used: ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, a common script called demotic, and Ancient Greek. The three scripts referred to a decree issued by King Ptolemy V. The discovery of the Rosetta Stone not only led to deciphering hieroglyphics, but to the field of modern Egyptology itself. By the way, have you ever wondered why it's called the Rosetta Stone? It's because the object was found near the town of Rashid, which translates to Rosetta. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications when we next upload.